Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is our Tactical Breakdown Loan Report show, the show in which we look at the players that are being obviously sent away from the club temporarily to gain some valuable experience. And as always, I'm very happy today to be joined by Ben from the Marseille View. How you doing, mate? You good, you well?
Good, thanks, you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. It's as I said before we came on air, enjoying the football being 24/7. All that said, that does end today because of course the third round of the group stage fixtures means that it's going to 3-7 kickoffs here in the UK. So we'll have to deal with no football at 10 a.m., which has been something that has been a bit of a gift in some ways. But have you been enjoying the World Cup from your perspective, supporting a very good-looking France side, it has to be said?
I mean, I wasn't expecting this from France. Obviously, with all of the absences and let's be honest, they haven't really been tested yet, like many of the teams. But no, I mean, we've all been saying in France for months, Mbappe wants to be the big man. It's time to show he is. And so far he has. Happy to see Giroud getting close to the record as well, because absolutely love the guy. I think he's a hell of a player for all he's accomplished against all the odds. So let's see. But yeah, I think I think France and Spain are the two sort of, I guess, the informed teams in the way that they're set up and the way that they seem to be a nightmare for opponents with all the weapons and systems that they have. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Brazil. We're just recording this after Brazil have won. Switzerland did very well to defend for as long as they did, but couldn't quite hold on to it for the whole 90 minutes in the end. And it was Vinicius Jr. had one ruled out, and then Casemiro with an amazing strike that went in the side netting as well. But it's been obviously a World Cup which has eaten into some of the domestic competition, of course. And while we're recording this at the end of November, some games for some of the players we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show have carried on because they're playing the lower levels. But obviously those playing in the elite leagues and the championship, as we're going to discuss, of course, have had their November basically ended 2 or 3 games into this month. So let's talk about initially Nuno Tavares, and of course playing at your very beloved Marseille. How he started off obviously brilliantly at the beginning of the season, 3 goals, very in quick succession. Things have, not gone to that extent as we didn't expect it to. But how has he kind of performed in this past month?
It's leveled out. I think last time we recorded, I was already saying this. I was saying that he's sort of fallen back into the sort of normal form, and it was very obvious that at the beginning of the season when he was scoring and playing well. Firstly, he was probably really in shape, and secondly, I think it took 4, 5, 6 games for the opposition teams to start figuring out our system and start blocking him effectively, which they started doing in October, and then in November he's. I think there's mixed opinions, there's mixed feelings. He's still the best option we have in that position, and that's why he starts, and he does bring a lot of athleticism and he does get up and down his wing, but I think he's just been very frustrating in the sense that when he's on form and it's coming off for him, he can take 2 or 3 players on and ghost past them with his technical ability and his rapid pace and make a difference with a shot, but his crossing's been a bit off, and he's just. I think this is something I said because it was starting to happen quite a lot in 1 or 2 games that we discussed just last time. It was towards the end of that period. He's just started when it's not coming off for him. He's still trying it, and you can't blame him for trying that initiative and trying to get past people. But you're just thinking, shit, man, just simplify your game a bit, pass it first time, and then make the run in behind instead of trying to get past the player because they're always doubling up on him. So a bit of a learning curve now.
Yeah, absolutely. I still kind of go back and forth with the idea of whether or not he has kind of a future at Arsenal. He has played the majority of, if not all, I think, of his games playing in a wing-back role at Marseille. And if that is the case, and Arsenal are very much wedded to playing this back 4 role for him with Zinchenko there and Tierney there. Tierney's kind of struggled, to adapt to what Arteta wants from the Zinchenko role, which is like this inverted left back role. But is there any argument, do you think, with him playing, with Tavares playing this further forward position, that he could maybe adapt to the inverted style?
I just don't think he's got so far I don't think he's got the football IQ to do so. he's an athletic player, and in today's football, you see teams like many of the big teams, and certainly we see it a lot during this World Cup. They switch from a back four to back three, and it depends on what's going on in the game and what the coaches identify as a weakness in the other team. I just think he'll always be an option or a bit part player in the squad for a team that doesn't play that as their principal system, unfortunately, just because unless he's still young, let's not write him off, but certainly for the ambitions Arsenal have and the quality that they're showing this season, I just don't see him fitting into that next year. It's not, Arteta and Arsenal will be looking for someone, if they do buy someone in that position, it will be someone who's going to add and not someone who can just provide cover, because they've already got that with Tierney. So I think, you're looking at right now, and obviously this will evolve as the season goes on. But I think we'll see a scenario where he either stays on loan at Marseille or goes out on loan somewhere else or gets sold. I really don't see a future for him unless Arsenal change to a back three suddenly. To respond, I think Mike's just asked in the questions, will we want to buy him? I'd keep him just because I'm convinced that we'll get better with our budget and our attractivity, and it would be nice to have a bit of continuity in that position. However, it was very well noted and documented that Arsenal didn't want to include an option to buy in the loan, like they did with Saliba. If he does, he's been on good form. I'd give him a 5 out of 10 so far overall over the season. With a 7 in his first month, and then a 6, and now a 5. However, if Arsenal, if he does refine form and has a good second half of the season, then it's Arsenal could get 10-15 million for him, and we won't pay that.
Yeah, I think, and I'm conscious of the time. I don't want to linger too much on Tavares more, but a lot of things that come up in my chat box that I have discussions with and debates within the chat box is the price of players and the valuation people have of players. And, people have suggested like Arsenal should be asking for 30+ million for Tavares. And that's just not going to happen. The max I can ever see him going for is around 20, absolute maximum.
Yeah. And that's if he smashes it and he scores another 5 goals and gets 10 assists in the second half of the season. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think people do need to get it into their minds that realistically, we aren't going to be expecting upwards of £20 million for Tavares, even if he was to say have a very good second half of the season when the World Cup finishes. So I'm glad you said between 10 and 15, and Marseille won't even pay that. So I'm glad that you brought that.
We can't afford to, but I guess it's it's like again, you've got to put it into perspective. How much should Arsenal pay for him? 6, 7?
Yeah, 6-7 million.
So if you double your revenue, your return on investment, it's a good thing, and it's you've got to think about the sort of. I know we tend to neglect this, and we always look at the club first and all of that, but you've got to think about the human aspect. This guy's, he's still a bit of he's 22, 23. He's got potential international future. Just let him go. If you get a decent offer and it makes all parties happy, just let him go. If it's a Premier League club, then you could get 20 million for him. But if it's a return to Benfica or somewhere in Italy or somewhere like that, then you're looking at probably 15.
I boast a lot about my community here and say it's the best, but I tell you what, some of you boys are pushing it this evening with some of your comments tonight.
Yeah, 40 million, not Matt.
I see you guys. I see what they're doing. Let's move on to Folarin Balogun, who has just continued to score. He's on 8 now and 2 assists as well for the season. Done fantastically well. Do you really, with the way Eddie Nketiah has struggled now, I feel as though Arsenal would be mad not to really consider alternating the two for next season, bringing Balogun in to be the deputy potentially, and sending Nketiah either permanently or on loan. What do you make of it?
Well, it's a difficult one, isn't it? And it's even more compounded. Defenders midfield is one thing, but strikers, they need to, when they're in form like this, they need to play. And they need to. It's all well and good him showing these qualities. And as we discussed last time, he's doing really well in a sort of bottom of the table, anticipated finish for this side. He's carrying them with his goals. He's impressed against the big teams. I've even seen rumours. I think it was in L'Équipe a couple of weeks ago where they did a bit of a dossier on him and saying that Marseille are even looking at him, and a couple of the other sort of bigger clubs like Lens are considering and watching him. So it's difficult. Is he a good talent? He's a great talent, and he's showing that now he's got game time. But like Nketiah, there's only so much you can do, and the super sub theory and fantasy just doesn't exist. It's been an exception. It's not the norm, right?
Yeah.
And if he goes back to Arsenal after scoring 15 goals this season, then he'll be asking for guarantees, and he'll be asking, why I want to be ahead of Eddie Nketiah in the pecking order. I would.
Yeah.
And he'll want more consistent game time than Nketiah's getting. Certainly, he won't be satisfied with Europa League or FA Cup or League Cup. So it's a very difficult equation for Arsenal now to address. But as we discussed last time, it's, yes, you'd rather have a kid from the academy like Balogun as the second striker if he shows form and promise. But then you've got to somehow unload Nketiah, who you've just given $100,000 a week to, and who's going to pay that? So
yeah, I know. I still can't get my head. But I'm very appreciative and praising of the club, but the $100,000 a week was something that there is no argument for me to justify that amount of money.
As we discussed last time, I think they just wanted to keep him off the market for other clubs like West Ham and Newcastle. But who knows, right? But Balogun, top player. He's definitely the top loanee from Arsenal in Ligue 1 this season. He's been incredible.
Well, I mean, he's being chased because a certain Nicolas Pepe is certainly improving his form. He has improved recently, 4 goals so far as well, which is really good to see. I want to see him impressing because, look, I don't think he's got a future at Arsenal. He's got 6 in total for the season. He's got 2 in the Conference League as well, 4 in Liga, and an assist as well, which I've not included on this for some reason. You can tell my bias is coming out against him. I want him to succeed because it's important that we are in a position whereby we can make some money off him at the end of the season, because he isn't going to stick around and he's going to want to play. But do you think you've seen in the last kind of month or so I say the last month, the last couple of weeks?
There's been 4 games, I think, before the World Cup break,
Exactly. So in those 4 games, if we have a quick look at those, he played twice in which he scored against Lyon. I think Alexandre Lacazette actually scored in that game.
He did, well. They won 2-1 at the last minute. Yeah, Lacazette got a last-minute winner in that game, yeah. Indeed.
And then you've got the game against he also got a goal for Ivory Coast playing in a friendly in November as well. And then as I said earlier, you've got the games in the Conference League where he got a goal late on in October, which I think just crossed past the last time we spoke, against Partizan, and played against Cologne as well in that 2-2 draw with them. I don't know if they progressed. Did they Nice progress through the Conference League? I'm trying to think back to what even the Conference League groups, they didn't. So he will have less games to play in the new year. But what have you made of Pepe's improvement?
He's I hate to say it, but it's typical Pepe that he finds form just before a break. He did start finding form indeed. Then the last time we chatted, he sort of was starting to come in the fray. He'd scored mostly penalties, but it was growing into that Nice team who was struggling in the league anyway. But no, it's typical. It's just typical. It's like at Arsenal when you'd have 3 good games and then he'd just have a total shocker and he'd be benched for 10 games, for example. It's just, again, it's just unlucky that he's found form at the wrong time. Hopefully he continues that. You do see glimpses of the player that Arsenal paid all that money for. You are starting to see them again because he's playing consistently. Is he the goal scoring threat that he was when Arsenal signed him? No. But is he sort of being more decisive and more of an actor in the games and more having a lot more influence on how Nice play and how Nice attack? He is. Yeah, he's starting to really become, well, he certainly was before the break, starting to become a good focal point of their of their attack and starting to make differences. So let's hope it continues during the Christmas period and afterwards. But for now, it's just found form at the wrong time. As you say, it's all about him putting himself in the shop window and finding a decent move for all parties next summer.
Yeah, and it will be certainly one of Edu as the newly appointed sporting director at Arsenal. One of his biggest, I think, challenges in regards to sales is what they can get for Nicolas Pepe and who's going to pay that. So hopefully they'll be looking at him scoring a fair few goals between now and the end of the season. Ben, thank you so much, as always, mate, for your time. I really appreciate it, as always. Tell people they can find you, of course, and what you're going to be up to.
Yeah, the Marseille view. I mean, it's a bit quiet because it's the World Cup period, so we'll put episodes out whenever we get the chance or topic comes up. But yeah, let's hope that Arsenal keep flying high and that Marseille keep flying high as well, because we're back in form. So good luck to everyone, and speak to you guys next month.
Absolutely. Enjoy yourself, Ben. Have a great time and enjoy the rest of the World Cup, mate.
Cheers, lads. Cheers, everyone.
See you later. You can follow Ben on Twitter at the Marseille View, and of course you can find his personal account on Twitter if you want to follow him there at 91Immortal. So make sure you go and check him out. Let's move on to part 2. We look now at Auston Trusty. Now, we up to this point in the season have had a specified, dedicated update on this, but I'm very happy to say that TGT has joined up with the Blues Focus podcast, which is a Birmingham City podcast, and Tommy from there has produced a great video to show you, giving you an update on how Auston Trusty has been getting on throughout the course of this season.
Hi, I'm Tommy from Blues Focus, and this is my report on Arsenal loanee Auston Trusty, who joined us Birmingham City at the start of the season. At 24 years of age, standing at 6'2", nearly 6'3", Auston Trusty has started all 21 games for us this season, and I have to be honest, he's been remarkable. Considering I didn't know much about him before he joined, I've been surprised and quite relieved to see he's a very tidy defender. He's kept 7 clean sheets and scored 3 goals, one being a crazy scorpion kick against QPR, who were then top of the table. With him being a young defender, there's so much potential that he could bring to teams throughout his career. And though he might not get his opportunity at Arsenal, I'm sure teams like Everton, Leeds and Fulham would snap him up in a heartbeat. He carries quite an aerial threat. His first goal for us actually was a header versus Bristol City, in which we won 3-0. He scored twice in that game, I remember that now. He is left-footed and he is very comfortable on the ball, which from a Blues perspective, seeing that at the back is actually quite nice to see, because we've had some shaky players at the back throughout these few seasons we've been in the Championship. We play Trusty in a back 5 with Harley Dean and Wolves loanee Dion Sanderson, as well as wing backs of Maxime Collin and West Ham loanee Manny Longello, who has also been impressing as of late. The two work in a bit of a pair on that left-hand side, and I think Trusty has been helping him out defensively, because he's great going forward and he's got a few assists, and also he scored in that game that Trusty scored. But I think he's a young kid who could do with some experience of how to defend properly, and with Trusty being a really classy centre-back, then I feel like he's really got him understanding how to properly defend, how to man mark, and you can see his improvement from the first game that Longello played for us at Sheffield United away. You know, he's really starting to come into his own, and I feel like a lot of that is down to Trusty and also the other 2 defenders that work with him. So we've got a decent looking team for the first time, and it feels like forever. We've also got Big John Ruddy in goal as well, who is the ex-Wolves and Norwich goalkeeper. I was rather disappointed that he didn't get picked for the American side going to the World Cup. But it's good news for us, really, because then it'll mean he won't get injured. Whereas we've got to hope that Bielik and Hannibal, who are going with Poland and Tunisia, stay fit and don't get a couple of knocks. Aside from giving a cheap penalty away, I can't really think of many instances that he's played badly this season. His best performance, which definitely stands out, is the game against Bristol City. We won 3-0, he kept a clean sheet, he scored 2 goals. He's one of those players that you don't particularly notice at the time. It's only until afterwards you realise, oh, that tackle from Trusty was great. When he shielded that player out and we won the ball in the corner, that was good, that was. He's one of those type of players, and that's why I say he's quite tidy. He doesn't make rash decisions. He's very calm. He's very comfortable on the ball, like I said. He's just a very good defender. He's a very good Championship defender. I think if he was to get a start at Arsenal, I think you'd be quite impressed by him. But for the moment being, he's ours. Thank God. Honestly, we've needed a player like him for some time now. But anyway, thank you to the Gooner Talk for inviting me on. Thank you for listening. And if you want to see more of Auston Trusty being a boss at the back, then you can subscribe to us at Blues Focus TV. I keep a regular matchday vlog. You can also tune into our podcast with myself, Jamie and Zach. And good luck to Arsenal for the rest of the season. I'm kind of hoping that you win it this season, because I can't be bothered with Man City winning it every year. But thank you for listening, and keep right on.
A massive thank you to Tommy. Absolutely one of the best produced videos we've had on the channel. So do go show them some love over at the Blues Focus podcast. I'll making sure to add a link down to that in the video description. And of course, you can find them, as he said, at Blues Focus. You'll be able to find them on Twitter as well. But Trusty has done fantastically. And I think he's a player that maybe a lot I've forgotten about, maybe less so recently, because he's really kind of come forward. And we've talked a lot more about him with the US men's national team as well. And the fact he didn't get called up, that got him more, I think, kind of attention. And I think actually the fact that he didn't get called up, yeah, it might be good for Birmingham and that side of things. But I really think that he's a player that next season, if we are looking to try and maybe bring in a competitor to Gabriel, and he wants to kind of have his shot, maybe playing at more of an elite level, it would be a good money-saving tactic for Arsenal. That maybe they could focus our resources in other areas of the team, maybe potentially a right-back situation, depending on what happens with more of a varied option at right-back. Obviously, another central midfielder and another attacker, I think Arsenal are going to be looking to potentially bring in the next summer transfer window. So he's a player that I think people should be keeping an eye on, and we will continue to bring updates, and hopefully Tommy will continue to give us those updates as we go through the second half of the season. Okay, let's move on to, we've got Brook Norton-Cuffy up next. Now, we don't have the usual RUFC pod, and Mick's going to explain why. But thank you, Mick, for bringing in the video from the RUFC podcast.
Hello. Unfortunately, you're lumbered with a slightly overweight, bald, middle-aged man giving you the update on Brook Norton-Cuffy this month. Having said that, it's probably going to be the same update that you've had for the rest of the season so far, albeit there's very little to talk about. Bearing in mind we've been broken up for two weeks now for the World Cup. He's doing exceptionally well. He is some player. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I saw at the beginning of the season some Arsenal fans wanted him to be in and around the first team this season. I'll be honest, I'm not convinced that he's ready and up to that at the moment. He's still very raw. He's got a lot of work to do, but he's definitely developing as the games go by. And he's playing in and around some players who are probably more pacey than he is. So it's that's bringing him on as well. So yeah, it's a brief update, like I said, because we've had a couple of games, and he came on as substitute in both of those as well. So there's not a great deal to tell you other than, as you already know, you have got some player there. Hopefully he stays with us for the remainder of the season. Fingers crossed. We've got an injury in that area as well now, so he's certainly going to be getting some more game time, and he'll be coming back to you at the end of the season as champions. Fingers crossed. We'll be back with another one or another update post World Cup.
A massive thank you to Mick. I appreciate the update. I know it's only a small one, and it was always going to be a difficult one to do, considering there's only 2 weeks to look at. What I would say is that Norton-Cuffy did manage to get his first assist of the season during those 2 weeks. He got one against Burnley, which was great to see. They didn't manage to win the game, unfortunately, but Burnley are flying high at the top of the table and doing really, really well under Vincent Kompany. But he did manage to get an assist in a 3-2 defeat. He's still banging in those crosses, as you can see, 3.84 crosses per 90, doing really, really well there. He is starting to improve the accuracy of those crosses as well, and that's why his pass percentage is starting to creep up ever so slightly. Doing a really good in terms of dribbling, successful dribbles per 90, 1.92, doing exceptionally well there. And I'm really appreciating the defensive side of his game, 2.56 tackles per 90. He's making more than one clearance a game, more than one interception per game as well. So he's improving in that area. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a video update this month for our Blackpool side of things. The Seasiders updates are actually out in Qatar at the moment at the World Cup, so we haven't been able to get our update from those guys, but we'll be sure to bring you a video update on Charlie Patino at the end of January. We won't be doing it at the end of December, of course, because the World Cup takes up most of it and there's only be a couple of games. So we are going to save the next loan update into the end of the January transfer window. And at the end of that, we'll have more updates about potential moves on transfers as well. But Charlie Patino's got himself another assist, but taken up to 2 goals and 2 assists so far this season. You probably would have seen those circulating around social media. A fantastic ball over the top to Yates, who managed to get on the end of it and score. We've got a really good kind of statistical breakdown coming through of some of the players that we might get linked to in midfield coming over the course of the January, the lead up to the January window. And I think that Charlie Patino may actually find himself asking, do you really need to sign anyone at Arsenal this season? Because he is a player that I think we all need to make sure that we keep an eye on and make sure that we don't forget too much in a hurry. He is certainly catching the eye of everybody at Blackpool and is not going away from the Arsenal analysts either, who are certainly, as I'm aware, keeping really, really tight tabs on Patino as well. Should make it to the end of the season. I don't expect to see him recalled by any means. So Patino, more updates to come in the second half of the campaign. As always, we finish our loan reports with an update on the rest of the players that have been playing on loan away from Arsenal. We'd like to give you an update on all 32 of them. Ainsley Maitland-Niles has now made 9 appearances for Southampton, 517 minutes of football played, but will now be playing under, of course, a brand new manager, with Rouse Hasenhüttl losing his job. Alex Runarsson has played 16 times for Alanyaspor, 16 appearances in which he's conceded 19 goals in 1,440 minutes worth of football, but he is playing regularly. Maybe Arsenal might actually be able to get a fee for him next summer. As we do know that Pablo Mari had quite a significant update during his loan because he was the unfortunate victim of that stabbing in an Italian shopping centre. He is still undergoing recovery and has missed the last 3 or 4 games because of the surgery and recovering from that surgery, but he is expected to be back in the new year potentially, and we know that we've got an option in that loan move that if Monza stay up, they will have to buy him through an obligatory purchase clause. Arthur Okonkwo has been doing really well from Crewe Alexandria, 20 appearances so far this season. Yes, he's conceded 27 goals, but he has kept 7 clean sheets, so nearly half of his games he's managed to keep a clean sheet in for a Crewe side that aren't amazing by any stretch of the imagination, and his manager has been putting out plenty of quotes really praising Arthur Okonkwo. I think he used the terminology of he can be whatever he wants to be. That's how highly they rate him at Crewe this season. Mika Biereth hasn't played any extra football since our last update on him. 5 appearances and 2 goals so far this campaign whilst away in the Netherlands with RKC Waalwijk. Marcelo Flores did get his first assist for Ibiza in 10 appearances he's now made, 479 minutes of football played. Miguel Aziz, though, still trying to get his first goal contribution whilst away with Ibiza. Real Oviedo is where Flores is currently playing at the moment. Nikolai Moller, 3 goals, 1 assist, got an extra couple of goals or 2 since we last did our last update. 9 appearances for Den Bosch so far this season. And unfortunately, John Jules, as we covered in one of our morning shows, has unfortunately just suffered another injury that could put an end to his loan deal if it is indeed that serious. We're still waiting for more updates. Salah Adine on loan at Hull is injured until after the World Cup. Tim Akinolo has made a couple more appearances for Chesterfield, 213 minutes on his card so far. Harry Clark continues to play well for Stoke, getting 4 clean sheets and 2 goals in 14 appearances. What we've also seen is from Omar Rekic's side of things, he's now got 5 appearances, which is exactly the same as what he had in the last because he hasn't yet played. Still hasn't played since our last update, and I would be very surprised if Arsenal don't recall him in the January transfer window. Alex Kirk is doing really well at Ayr United, actually. 2 goals, 2 assists, and 2 clean sheets so far as a centre-back. One to keep an eye on, potentially. We'll have to wait and see if they are monitoring his kind of progress and his development so much more that maybe he gets even further if he comes back in the summer. Ryan Alabiosu playing also in Scotland, still waiting to get a goal contribution, 16 appearances so far this season for Kilmarnock. Mazida Gungro playing at Crawley, 11 appearances so far this season, conceding 14 goals whilst he's at the back, but 3 clean sheets on his record as well. Eja Herry doing well as well in the National League, 15 appearances so far, 9 goals conceded only, and 9 clean sheets kept as well. Eja Herry usually playing for the Arsenal under-21s, but sent on loan to the National League so far this year and done well. And finally, Tom Smith on loan at Bromley, 11 appearances, 16 goals conceded and 2 clean sheets, finally starting to get into the swing of things. He didn't start the season by playing many games. Now he's playing regularly for Bromley. So that brings you all the updates on everyone that's been on loan. Apologies, it's been a bit of a shorter one this time around. Of course, we haven't had that many games to talk about because the World Cup's been on, and I am going to hold back the next update until the end of January. We won't do a December loan report for you because, of course, the World Cup is eating into so much of that. We will be doing a report for you at the end of January, as I've already mentioned, on the next update for the club. And of course, as January approaches, that does mean that we could see more players going out on loan. So we'll be bringing you more updates on any other loan deals that take place and either happen throughout January. Maybe Marquinhos will suddenly become a focus of these loan report shows, because it is my understanding that the club are considering sending him out on loan in the second half of the campaign. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Really appreciate the time. Sorry I haven't been able to focus too much on your questions. It is difficult to get all this information into one show and answer questions, and I have to wrap these up at past anyway. So I'm sorry that I couldn't tackle those. If you do have any and you can save them for tomorrow morning's morning show, I'll be back then to answer as many of your questions as I can as possible. But do drop a like on the video. Do subscribe to the channel if you are indeed new around here. We produce these loan updates every single month, except for next month, because there isn't any football going on, basically. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. A massive thank you to all of our contributors that always help out with the little video clips and the information they send in. And I think you'll all agree that Tommy from Blues Focus did a fantastic job with our first update on Auston Trusty for this season, which we hope to get you more monthly updates on him throughout the rest of the campaign. I'll see you very, very soon. In fact, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a great day. And as always, up the Arsenal.